Cool. Let's move over to a few of your other fighters. Carl Frampton. We know that the big fight with Jamel Herring is going to happen at some point. Don't know about the date. But we heard the news that Carl Frampton has sorted out sort of the legal settlement in regards to the case that was going on with the McGuigans. But since then, or whilst that was going on, did you see any sort of difference in Carl Frampton since it's been settled? Have you seen a different side of Carl Frampton?
Well, he's living with me now, so he's back over in camp, and yeah, you can see it's like a weight off his shoulders because no one wants to be going to court and stuff like that. But so you can see he's in a good place, and I'm glad now because this is such a big fight for Carl as an individual, but for Irish boxing, he'll be All Ireland's only ever freeweight world champion, which is going to be a massive thing. So. And Herring's a good fighter. Let's not beat around the bush. He's a good fighter. He didn't have a great performance last time, but not having a good performance doesn't mean you're not a good fighter. And he's big for the weight. But there's stuff there what I see where Carl can exploit, and being big at the weight sometimes doesn't fall in your favour, especially if it's a tough fight. Carl's really come on with his body punching, which I feel will play a big part in the fight. And I don't think it can be one of those fights where sort of it's clear cut. I think it'll be close. I don't think Carl's going to go in there and blast him out. I don't think, and it won't work the other way. I don't think Herring will, by any stretch, be able to contain Carl and keep him at bay and sort of try and run it with a wide points decision. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think the styles blend well, but I think sometimes when you move up a weight, it gives you an advantage because you're not weak. Yep. And you won't be able to say that about Herring. He's going to be real tight at the weight, and that would be a factor. I don't think it'll be the overriding factor. I think Carl's skill set, Carl's feet are probably his best asset. His judgment at distance, that little step out, and the way the speed he covers the distance at. So I feel like that'll help with the lack of height disadvantage he's got with Herring. I think it'd be a great fight. I really do. I think watching Herring's last fight, for instance, where he does allow himself those Philly fighters, even though they're tall and upright and they're good defensively, they like to sit in the pocket and fight, and that'll give him some success with Carl, but it'll also lead him into them positions where Carl have success as well. So it'll be a good fight. Stylistically, but I'm massively confident that Carl will beat him.
When I look at Carl Frampton, he's had some great years. He's been a champion. Fought twice against Leo Santa Cruz, and everyone remembers them fights. Then when I talk to boxing fans, they say, you know what, he's looking like he might be past it. But Jamie, you see him day in, day out, and you've been with Carl for a good couple of years now. So when people say he's past it, what do you want to say to them? Well,
I don't understand what the background they're going off with that statement, because recently, he lost to Josh Warrington, but Josh Warrington's a hell of a fighter, and Carl got dragged into the wrong sort of fight. And I've said this as well in interviews before. When you watch the fight back, those first 3 rounds were horrendous for Carl, and it was like he could have done 12. Yet he still got himself back into the fight and won some middle rounds, even after that horrendous start, against a fighter of Josh Warrington's calibre. So, and 2 fights before that, he beat Nonito Donaire, who everyone was sort of questioning, going, is he past his best? Yet, look at the performances Nonito Donaire still putting in now, albeit at a bantamweight, but still, that calibre of opposition, the way Carl dealt with him was unbelievable. So, people can say and do what they want, but I see Carl day in, day out, and I actually think he's improved. As he's got older, he's had to adapt his style. He was flogged too much, he was training too hard, and I feel like by the time he was in the rematch with Santa Cruz set his tactics out differently in the second fight, and Carl didn't expect it, and he was sort of took by surprise. But he looked flat in the rematch, and people was probably thinking then, he's sort of past his best. But a tired fighter is not going to be able to perform to his best ability. So the older you get, I know this from experience, and I've spoke to many fighters who've gone on into the late 30s and 40s, how you've got to adapt your training. You can't possibly keep up that consistency of training, basically hard training every day or every other day. It's impossible. Your body needs more rest the older you get. and we've adapted his training and worked around it. And I'm actually glad that people think Carl's past his best, because when he beats Herring, he'll make the victory all that more sweeter. And the people, the doubters, that Carl's not got that many people who dislike him in Northern Ireland or in Ireland in general. But for the ones who want him to do badly or want him to lose, I can't wait for him to put in this performance and then stick 2 fingers up to him and go, there you go.
Jamie, at the start of the interview, we were talking about sort of how it's hard times for everyone. The government made a statement a couple of days ago in regards to giving funding, giving investment to sports. Unfortunately, boxing wasn't on the list, and I've spoken to Frank Warren, I've spoken to Kevin Mitchell this morning as well. They're really disgusted with that decision. Just give me your thoughts, because you've been around, you see the kids that come into the gyms and how much support the boxing gyms need at this present time. Just give me your thoughts on that.
Listen, I've set an amateur boxing club up, and it was ready to go in sort of February, March, just as lockdown kicked in. So I've now got an amateur club in the place where I grew up, sat there waiting, because he's been crying out for it, because the kids are on the street and there's nothing to do and he's causing problems in the community. So I've invested and my time and efforts into trying to open this gym for the exact reason what we're talking about, knowing the impact a boxing gym is going to have on my area where I've grew up. And for the government to bypass a sport which is renowned for changing communities, and not, I think they said something like, if amateur boxing clubs want to try and get some money, they need to apply to Sport England. That's not good enough. It's not good enough. They should be allocating it to certain areas of thing, or England boxing, and then England boxing should then distribute the money. For them to just dismiss it like that is outrageous. And it's not just about getting the kids off the streets and getting them interacting and doing stuff. It actually changes the mindsets and gives them a sense of belonging, and also as a knock-on effect, then it then reduces crime rates and stuff like that. The impact of a boxing gym in the community is massive. So for the government to not include it was ridiculous. And like I said before, the list what I seen just looked to me like the privileged school sort of sports. Let's back them, and we'll keep the wealthy people wealthier, and the poorer people can just keep struggling. And it knocked me sick, really. And the sooner I love the fact that Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren and people of power are having that voice and getting out there, because potentially they are the people from our sport. We can do interviews like this and talk about how disgusted we are. It's not going to make a difference, but people like them in power, it will make a difference. So I'm hoping that they do listen to them and something happens, because the year we've had and the situation people are in, it makes me feel physically sick to know what people are going through. For then these kids, psychologically they're going to be going through it as well. For them to then not even have an outlet, there's no way of them getting there and sort of even hitting a punch bag and letting a bit of that frustration out. It's fucking heartbreaking. So yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, we're nearly at Christmas now, and people talking about, well, should we cancel Christmas? Piss off. This is going to be probably one of the only times a year where people might not even go and see the family, but they will this year, because of everything what's gone on. They think, life's too short, let's get together and enjoy Christmas. And I'm just hoping that once we get Christmas out of the way, apparently if you're following the science, then all these tests, what they've been doing, and the numbers going up, and they've had to do more stricter lockdowns. Well, if you follow the science, all the numbers are coming down, and the R rate's coming down everywhere. So if that's the case, then why is restrictions not being let down rather than going up? It's a fucking joke.
Frank Warren made a great point in my interview yesterday. He said when the MPs need votes, they'll go into the boxing gyms, they'll have photographers around, and they'll put boxing gloves on, and they'll sort of mess about with the kids that are there, just for PR.
Exactly.
But when it comes to
the common people, so they want our vote, and they want to try and win our votes when it matters to them. But when it comes to the nitty-gritty and we need their help, they want to turn a blind eye. I mean, Nige, he won't mind me saying this, but he said, if Boris Johnson turns around tomorrow at Moss side, so they always they come to Manchester and they always talk about Moss Side, you know, deprived area, Moss Side. Let's go and visit Nigel's gym in Moss Side. He said, Boris Johnson will get told to fuck off. He's not welcome at my gym because he's just basically turned his back on amateur boxing. So he said he's not welcome.